military has performed magnificently. But like you, I just don't understand why things were not better planned out. George Tenet explained some of this in his book, At the Center of the Storm, but not enough. So I called him on it. We go in, all right? Everybody in the country is behind it except the kooks.
I don't know about kooks, Bill.
Believe me. At that point, it was running 80-85%
Anyway.
in the polls.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, we overthrow him. The military campaign goes, well, you didn't run the military campaign. Pentagon did. And he's done, and he's out. But you know what I saw? I saw the night the statue went down, Iraqis looting the armories with nobody stopping them. And I went, whoa, what's that all about? And it doesn't seem that there was any kind of plan to secure the country after you got them.
When you plan a war, you have to transition from war fighting to conflict termination to peacekeeping and stabilization, and we needed to have an integrated plan from beginning, middle to end.
You did?
We didn't. The government didn't. Well, look, fault, you know.
Is that your fault?
Well, listen, let's not get into...
I mean, don't people have a right to know?
Well, you guys love laying blame. Let's just look at what happened here. Shinseki was probably right. You didn't have enough people on the ground. And then, in the way we went about in the post-war Reconstruction period, what did we do? We disbanded the army. We de-Baathified the country. We told the Sunni population.
But did you tell the president that was good to do that?
Absolutely not. And Bill, the point I make in the book. Well, of course, we didn't know that's how this was going to come down before it happened.
You saw it come down.
Yes, Bill. And once it came down, our reporting from Baghdad, beginning in July, consistently told a story of we have a problem here.
And nobody in the Pentagon listened?
Well, you know, it's not just about the Pentagon.
Well, who else would it be about? They're running the show.
Yeah, they're running the show, and all I can say, Bill, is I say at the end, you know, there's a system here.
Okay, so you're telling me
look, Bill,
that you warned them that there was no cogent plan to stabilize the country.
No, Bill, what? No. We told them what intelligence people tell them. We don't comment on policy, but once we got on the ground, we said, look, we have an insurgency that's brewing.
Let's get back to the folks now. They don't understand why, if you're telling them there's chaos and nothing happens.
Well, Bill, all I can tell you is the data is available. People may have different data points. People may look at this differently, but at the end of the day, what consistently is reported reflects the reality of what's going on the ground. Nobody can walk away from that. So, we go to Afghanistan, right? We find a Karzai. We never had a Karzai. We legitimize from the ground up, from the locality.
But that was your operation.
Well, let's not say mine or theirs. Culturally,
it was a CIA operation.
Right. So you get to Iraq, and essentially the thought process: we're going to go from the top down. Right. We're not going to let Iraqis.
I can only extrapolate.
Themselves.
You like that word? Extrapolate. I can only extrapolate.
It's a big word for a Long Island guy.
I'm a big guy.
Right.
That the Pentagon screwed up because you can't. 4 years later, look back on the chaos that we're looking now.
Bill, can I say something to you?
Nothing worked.
Bill, can I say something to you? This should have been fixed earlier than it was.
But it wasn't. And now this is one of the biggest disasters in our foreign policy.
It's a difficult time for all of us at the moment. It's a difficult equation.
Okay. Now let's get to the present.
Okay.
This Iraq thing has changed everything in America because it's divided the country to the extent that the hatreds are so palpable.
Right.
All right? People hate you. They hate me. They hate, across the board. And I'm saying that we're still in great danger because our enemies, the jihadists primarily, Iran, a few others, they see the weakness in the country. They see the division that's been caused over Iraq. And they're going to go in and they're going to exploit that division. Do you believe most Americans understand the threat that, just like in the early 90s and mid-90s, is brewing over there? This time it's Iran. Back then it was Al-Qaeda.
Bill, let me come back to this Iranian piece because I want you to be careful here. We have an Iranian problem. There is a nuclear program that we should be concerned about, and there's support of Hezbollah that we should be concerned about. Let's also make sure we understand that at this moment in time, personal view, you don't want to fight Sunni and Shia Islam simultaneously. Don't think that's very, very smart. And there's another thing we better think about very, very carefully. There's a foreign jihadist piece of this, to be sure. But this is a domestic problem we're dealing with.
So you don't believe Iran is a bigger problem as some are portraying it?
Well, of course it is, Bill, but let's handle one thing at a time.
I don't know if you can.
Well, Bill, how would you handle it then?
If Iran is going to subvert the government of Iraq,
hold on a minute.
How are you ever going to stabilize
it? You've got a number of, well, Bill, maybe it's time for us to look at the Syrians in the eye and look at the Iranians in the eye and bring that region together and sit down and have some straight talk about how we're going to get out of this together. The important thing from my perspective here is Iraq is a problem. You have to make it bigger because the region is at risk. It's not just about Iraq anymore. So there's a lot of danger out there. It's also a time for adroit diplomacy, strategy, big thinking.
Okay, now, you are still the CIA director today.
I'm
you
not.
tell Bush,
I'm not.
This is a hypothetical.
I don't want to be. I've had enough.
This is a hypothetical. You're still the CIA director today. Do you tell Bush to no more surge, to pull back, to redeploy, to let them fight it out among themselves in Iraq? What do you tell him?
Look, I don't know what
Come on, you must have thought about it. You're up to your neck in it.
You know, the answer is I don't know, because here's what I would watch very, very carefully. Have American forces become such an issue that Iraqis are no longer capable of making decisions they need to make for themselves? Look, you've got some responsibility. You need to, as quickly as possible, transition away from being in the front. We can give them command, control, intelligence support, and training, and they have to pick up responsibility.
Okay. All right, I learned a lot from reading Mr. Tennant's book, and we appreciated him coming in. We might use a little bit more of that tomorrow. Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening. Dennis Miller.